But first, it's time to go to the movies. And for the first time since the clocks have gone back, hello in the dark to James Luxford.
Hello there.
How do you do?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks very much indeed. James is here, of course, every Thursday from Radio Times and Metro newspaper with a preview of movies opening across Coventry and Warwickshire this weekend. Where do you want to start this week?
Shall we start with Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining that sees the adult Dan Torrance, played by Ewan McGregor, return to the Overlook Hotel.
I don't know about magic. I always called it The Shining.
I saw the trailer to this at the cinema, and my first thought was, ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to go, it's not Jack Nicholson, is it? And it's not the original Stanley Kubrick, so...
Yeah, and there's a problem there because the book is very different from The Shining. My wife's family are ardent Stephen King fans, and Kubrick's The Shining is sort of a four-letter word in their house.
Yeah.
And I think any ardent... they're just very different stories. I love Kubrick's The Shining, and this is sort of a sequel to both. It's based on a Stephen King book, which was a follow-up to his version of The Shining, and it tries to merge both. I was expecting a disaster. What I got was actually quite a thoughtful film. It's not particularly, I wouldn't call it a classic of cinema like it's certainly a visual classic of cinema that The Shining was, but it's later last week, or just a rehash, or just wander around. This has somewhere, it thinks about the consequences of a sort of trauma that Dan Torrance would go through in The Shining, and it kind of takes into new territories. Wonderful villain in Rebecca Ferguson, who plays sort of like a cult leader who goes after a child with similar powers to Dan. And I'm, as we know, I'm not the biggest horror fan in the world, but if it tells a good story, I'm always there for it. And this surprised me.
Okay, from a horror to a drama.
After the wedding, Michelle Williams plays the head of an Indian orphanage who finds out a devastating secret when she attends a benefactor's wedding.
I don't trust your wife.
She's going to give you money for your charity, and you're going to question her integrity, huh?
20 million. What does she want?
Okay, what did she want?
I can't tell you. This is twist. It's a twist after twist with this. Even reviewing it feels like a spoiler, but it is a remake of a Danish film with Mads Mikkelsen from Casino Royale and other films. But they flipped the genders to give it a different focus. I don't think this is as good as the original. They rarely ever are. But two incredible actors on screen, Michelle Williams and Julianne Moore, who plays the benefactor with, strange or mystery motives behind wanting to invest in the charity. Well acted, I think a bit wandering in its plot.
Okay. And a home entertainment pick for us for the weekend?
Yeah.
It's going to be raining a lot this weekend, so you probably want to dip into this.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about The King, starring Timothée Chalamet and Robert Pattinson in a remake or an adaptation of Shakespeare's Henry V?
Choose your steps wisely, dear brother. They have their own kingdoms behind their eyes.
So having Robert Pattinson in will cause a degree of interest, you would think, wouldn't you?
Indeed, yeah. This is probably one of the last roles he'll play before he suits up as the Batman for the 2021 movie, so he'll be shooting that next year. I like this. It's really hard to compare because you've got Laurence Olivier's version, although this is sort of more of the sort of part one, part two, across the Henry plays in Shakespeare's sort of canon. This is a different thing, but it's a similar territory, and it's hard not to compare in that sense. And this isn't the classic of cinema that was, or, in...
Very few are.
Exactly, yeah. Or even, Kenneth Branagh's version a few decades ago, but it is a solid adaptation, good actors. I really like Timothée Chalamet. He's very young, but he's just a very promising actor who's in Call Me By Your Name and some other things. He's coming up in Little Women. And I think Robert Pattinson's actually a very underrated actor. People mostly think of Twilight when they think of him. Yeah. He's done a lot of good independent things. Them coming together really fleshes out this story, and I really liked it.
Good stuff. Last time we spoke, the Star Wars trailer had just been released. Since then, we've had some estimate numbers, haven't we, come out?
Yeah, the opening weekend, which is charting to be around the same, it may be a little bit lower at the low end of the estimate than The Last Jedi, which was considered something of a failure. Look, it made something like 1.4 billion, but in comparison,
Not a bad failure.
yeah, in comparison to The Force Awakens 2 billion. In that world, it's a disaster. So who knows? I do think we're a little bit fatigued. 5 Star Wars movies in just over 4 years, a TV show on the way in The Mandalorian. We'll see. We'll see if Star Wars is still a special event.
James, good to see you, as ever. Thanks very much indeed. From the Metro newspaper, Radio Times magazine, where you can read his reviews weekly. James Luxford with us on BBC Coventry and Warwickshire.
BBC Coventry and Warwickshire.